Hey you guys, I see Amy here back with another video. I know that it's been a hot minute, but I was just feeling really compelled to make a 2021 video. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the breakup that Marco and I were going through and then got through, and then crazy shit happened and I made a YouTube video about it, and it was very compelling, and it was probably one of the biggest things in our relationship that happened that really taught us the most. So I wanted to come share with you guys pretty much a life update, what we've learned, what healthy tips get us through our relationship, where we're at in life right now. So let's start. Life update. In this year since we decided to work on things and really devote ourselves and recommit to our relationship, we purchased our first home, and we are 5 months pregnant with our baby number 4. That's just a little belly shot. So obviously blessings on blessings, or at least that's the way we see them. You know, I know there's a few bitter Bettys out there that have had a lot to say, rightfully so though, because like I've stated before, if you follow me on social media, if you don't, go ahead and follow my Instagram. I'll put it right here. Every relationship is circumstantial, meaning that when two people meet and two people fall in love, you're bringing the baggage unconsciously or consciously of your childhood. And I truly believe that when you meet your soulmate, this is a person that is going to really help you reflect not only on the shortcomings that they have that you help them learn and navigate through, but the shortcomings that you also have that you have to learn from and navigate through. And I think what we went through a year ago taught us a lot about really what it means to have a healthy relationship. So if you haven't kept up with us, or if you're someone that's new to my channel and you're not a person that watched us grow necessarily, because I had been doing the social media stuff since 2014 or so, got off of social media and then got back on, I'll give you just a little recap, okay? Him and I met December 31st, 2012. January 1st, 2013, he asked me to be his girlfriend, so the very next day. 4 months after that, I got pregnant with our first daughter, and then pretty much popped out babies ever since. And we've had a lot of obstacles along the way, a lot of obstacles that would have broke a lot of other couples, a lot of obstacles that almost broke us several times. And we get a lot of shit because we've been so public with our relationship and the obstacles in our relationship. I know there's a lot of people that have, women that have expressed to me that I'm just being toxic and I'm in this toxic cycle. And I've tried to explain to people that I've never had to deal, nor has he, with the same obstacle twice. Now, I would completely understand and validate the concerns that some people have had I been going through or putting him through the very same repetitive obstacle. The thing is, and the fact of the matter is that we were kids when we got together. We've had to grow together. And because we both lived a rough childhood, we were growing together while also trying to heal the unconscious things of our past. So were we presented with a lot of obstacles early on? Hell yes. Were a lot of those obstacles obstacles that would have completely broken other couples or been deal breakers for a lot of people? Yes. I had never been able to explain the connection that Marco and I have. It's one of those connections that I think a lot of people yearn for, but it's really hard to find in this society. So it really makes me thankful that we have that connection, we have that soul tie. And I think our story, although it's had its very ugly moments, is really a story of success, and everything that we've gone through, we've learned from, and has taught us very valuable relationship tools that I have seen people in their 40s, 50s, 30s, older than that, struggle to learn. I've seen a lot of couples that might not have gone through as much early on, but later on in life ended up going through those very same things because it wasn't addressed early on, if that makes sense. So let's get into a few of the healthy things that we've learned. Obviously, I wish that Marco would be in the videos, but I respect that it's not his forte. So let's see, if I had to narrow it, I can't even list to you guys tips of level of importance because I feel like they are all equally important. I feel like they are all very necessary to have a healthy, committed relationship. So I'm just gonna go off the rip, no particular order. They're all valuable tips, okay? One of the things that we've had to learn and learn the hard way is respect. There's healthy boundaries and then there's controlling boundaries. But there are boundaries that can be implemented that suit your type of relationship dynamic that are healthy for your relationship. For example, okay, we live in this era, this generation of if you don't allow your partner to follow all these IG models, you're an insecure woman. Right? That's the narrative nowadays. For our relationship dynamic, now, I'm not saying that the people that allow this and are okay with this, that there's something wrong with their relationship. Understand, every relationship is different. But for our relationship, what works for us is that we established a boundary because we had issues with cheating. We had issues with, looking outside of our relationship to numb problems that we were having when we were younger. We've learned that establishing healthy boundaries on the principle of respect really keeps our focus on each other. So I don't follow males I don't know. I don't follow IG males. I don't follow actors that I think are sexy. If I actually like them because I like their acting, okay. But I don't follow men that I would lust for, and vice versa. He doesn't follow women that he doesn't know. He doesn't follow women that he would lust for, IG models included. And it boils down to having respect for each other and the respect that we've created in our relationship. The next one I would say is really communicating each other's love language. Now, this one is a little bit tricky because you have to do a lot of self-work to even understand your love language. A lot of us are adults operating on trauma. Let's keep it real. A lot of us, we've gotten into these relationships where we love these people and we think that these people are going to be the ones that are our savior from our problems, our savior from ourselves. But really, you have to deep dive into yourself to really understand the way that you want to be loved. And when you understand the way that you want to be loved, you're then able to communicate to your partner how you want to be loved. I'll give you an example. Marco is more playful with his love. He likes to play fight, he likes to be aggressive, he likes to talk shit. We're best friends before, even though we got together very fast, we definitely are best friends. Cash, we're best friends and lovers. So for us, we normally act like best friends that are just in love with each other, to be honest. Sometimes he is like a teddy bear and like a big ass little kid and wants to get held and hugged and coddled, which works for me because I'm such a nurturer that I love to do that shit, and I'm a good shit talker, so I can talk the shit right back. Sometimes it does get overwhelming because I'm a Cancer and I just am flooded with emotions and I fucking have mood swings. Sometimes I'm just like, yo dude, you're being too fucking aggressive right now. I just need for you to cuddle me right now, And me, I'm very much like him, I'm very much like him in the sense that I'm playful as well, but I'm also much more sensitive. So I get into my little moments where I just want to be babied and loved and hugged and kissed, squeeze my booty, which he always squeezes my booty, but I get all I don't know, I melt. I don't know how to explain it. But I realized because of my childhood, I had to deep dive into myself, and I realized that I'm a people pleaser. I realized that because love wasn't given to me, I had to earn love. I became someone who thought that authentic love is me going above and beyond constantly and then feeling like, damn it, I never get what I give. And that was one of the biggest problems that we had in our relationship, was that I felt like I was constantly giving without getting. And I was learning to try to communicate what I needed, but unconsciously it felt guilty to me to communicate what I needed, because growing up, I didn't have the opportunity to communicate what I needed. My needs weren't validated and my emotions weren't validated. So it was completely new territory for me, but I had to literally realize that about myself. Obviously, making that realization about myself wasn't as easy as you would think it would be, but it taught me that I gotta step it up and I gotta be really direct with what I need from Marco. So I would swallow that guilt that I would feel, and I would tell Marco straight up, in this last year, this is what I need from you. This is how I need it. This is why I need it. And yeah, now this brings me to the next healthy relationship tip that we've learned the hard way. It's not always about communication and just communication. There is a big level of comprehension that needs to take place, because you can communicate all day what you need, right? But if your partner is not grasping what you need, then change is not happening. So obviously, initially, it was tricky for us, because Marco's always, truthfully, I can be accountable for the fact that I molded him into thinking that I'm always going to coddle him. I'm always going to cradle him. I'm always going to conform to his love language. I made that mistake early on in our relationship. We have 8 years together this year. And so he got used to thinking that he can give me half-ass, because truthfully, I wasn't demanding 100%. So initially, it was hard to communicate what I need, but also sit and have those conversations with him and let him know, like, you need to really understand that it affects me a lot when you half-ass me, or it affects me a lot when I explain to you what I need from you and you act like you're hearing me, but it goes in one ear and out the other, or you do it for a week and then you're back to your bullshit. This is vice versa. You know, there was things that Marco had to communicate with me that I also had to comprehend. Okay, this is your love language, this is my love language. So then that led to compromise. You're going to have to compromise in your relationship, okay? By compromise, I mean put yourself first, put your passions first, make sure you love yourself, but also understand that because you love this other person so much, that person is also a part of you. So because that person is also a part of you, you naturally want to meet that person halfway. You want to make that person feel heard. You want to make that person feel loved. And there's going to be those days where you're just like, I don't want to fucking do this. I don't want to try. This is where the commitment in a relationship is tested, because it's the days where you feel like the weight is too heavy, where you're really tested to see if you will lay down that weight for your partner and meet them halfway. And so that has taught us that vulnerability is just extremely necessary, like extremely necessary. And I find in women that I talk to that it's harder for men to be vulnerable. So just from observing why it's hard for men to be vulnerable, I think a lot of it comes from fear. I think a lot of them fear, like, you know, men that lie, they fear that the truth is going to cause the woman to do something that they don't want them to do, you know, like leave them or step out of the relationship or something, you know? So this underlying fear, especially when it's a strong woman, it can make vulnerability hard for men. And this is also something that I had to learn about myself, that I am so strong in terms of my demeanor, in terms of how I carry myself, in terms of my personality, that I wasn't really creating a space, and I thought I was, But I really wasn't creating a space for Marco to feel comfortable being vulnerable with me. And I can truthfully say that I wasn't creating that space because I held a lot of resentment in my heart from the things that he did to me when we were younger. So I had to realize that even though I thought that because I forgave him and we got over those trials that we went through when we were younger, I actually was still carrying a lot of resentment that made me have to always have this guard up. It didn't allow me to be as tender and nurturing of a woman that I could be. And so if I'm not creating a space in my divine feminine for my very masculine man to feel like he can be vulnerable with me, then I'm really just kicking myself in the ass, because we have he's very divine masculine, I'm very divine feminine. He goes out there and he's an alpha male. He does it on a daily. He leads the pack. I want our home, I want our relationship to be a safe haven for him, a place where he can come and he can lay down that leadership, because he knows that he is amongst a woman who will not belittle or berate him or make him feel like his vulnerability is a weakness. So I had to take it down a notch. I'll admit it 100%. And I had to first realize that I chose to forgive him. We chose to work on our relationship, which means that even if it's a situation where I feel like he could have had more common sense and it affected me that he didn't have common sense, if he chooses to practice being vulnerable and being truthful and being honest, if he chooses to tell me how he feels, instead of allowing my resentment or my anger, however that situation made me feel, to determine my demeanor towards him, I changed my perspective and I said, you know what? It's important that my husband or my man can be vulnerable with me, right? So let me applaud the moments I see that he is willing to be vulnerable. And I think that's something that a lot of us women, we forget to do. You know, we just think that men are going to be strong all the time. We think that, you know, they don't get their feelings hurt, you know. So it's taken some practice, it's taken some time, but he's realized that he can be vulnerable with me. He can tell me how he feels. He can tell me when things hurt him. He can tell me when I'm being a bitch. He can be just 1,000% open and vulnerable, and I will sit there to listen to him, to learn how I can become better and just navigate through that, and vice versa. I can be vulnerable with him. I can sit there and tell him, hey, I'm having a day where I feel resentment, or I'm having a day that I was triggered. This is how I'm feeling. And it's crazy because that like rolls into the next thing is we are very open in communicating when we're having those days where we are being triggered. Obviously, given my last video, Marco unfortunately gets a little bit of a taste of how I had to feel our whole relationship. Now tables have turned and he knows now what it's like to be triggered. He knows now what it's like to have those days where he hates me because of the mistake that I made. And it's hurtful for me because I don't want to see him hurt. Ironically, though, I think it's helping him understand how hard the obstacles I've had to navigate through are. You know, it's not easy. Loving someone that has hurt you is not very easy. Choosing to move forward and continue to build a life with someone that has betrayed you or hurt you, it's not easy. But we pretty much, and it was like an unspoken thing, like we just started doing it. I don't know. Honestly, I'd probably chalk it up to God. God kind of just gave us the wisdom to just start doing this. But anytime we're having one of those days, we shoot each other a text and we'll be like, we're having one of those days. He'll express to me how he feels, or I'll express to him how I feel. And we always make sure to say the way we feel, but add at the end of it, but I love you. And I think unconsciously for both of us, what that does is reiterate and affirm that even though we're having this bad day, even though we're triggered, we still love each other and we are still going to move forward and we're still going to fight. The day that we stop doing that, stop, telling each other I love you after we have some kind of issue would probably be the day that I'm like, oh shit, we have to worry about our relationship, but we love each other very much. So I don't fear that much. I fear it a little bit. But I think that's like natural because I'm a very realist, I'm like, what if one day he just wakes up and stops loving me? Oh God, I'm overthinking. Anyways, I think that pretty much sums up this video. Let me see, let me give my brain a swirl to see if I've missed anything that I think is super important. Nope. Cash. I think that's it. I think I highlighted pretty much every single thing that we've had to learn the hard way, that took us obviously 8 years to learn, that took us many obstacles to learn. But even though we've gone through all these things that really have broken our relationship or bended us to the point that we thought was of no return, in a very odd way, it made us so much stronger. It made our love so much stronger. Like, if we're willing to continue, and both of us continue to fight through these things, through these times, if we're both willing to put in the work to understand each other, communicate with each other, be vulnerable with each other, comprehend each other, lay ourselves and our ego down for each other, if we're both willing to do that, no matter what life throws at us, I think that we can get through it. It's not a one-way street though. Don't think that after watching this video, whether you're man or woman, that you got the clues to fix your relationship, because a relationship is of two people, two souls that come together, and both of you have to put in the work to make your relationship work and make your relationship last. And there's going to be those days that your partner slacks off. You pick them up and you remind them, you be their strength. Those are those days that you meet them halfway. But it's very possible. So I hope that this video helped you in some kind of way. I hope that maybe you have a better understanding. I hope that if you feel like you're with your soulmate and you guys, haven't figured out these keys yet, hopefully you can go back home and have a conversation with the person that you love and tell them, hey, I learned these awesome tips today. We should start practicing and we should start trying. Which also, you guys, there's been many times where we forget to be vulnerable, or we get too caught up in ego and anger that we're just not practicing what we know is healthy. And one of us will have to remind each other. Marco is usually the one to be like, Amy, you're not communicating. I'm a shut down kind of person. It's really made me realize a lot about myself. And I think the same for Marco. So yeah. Anyways, you guys, that's the end of this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If this is your first time watching me, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and everyone have a blessed day. All love, always, always.